Mama Z, we are Souls Unshaken. Welcome to our kitchen table. And I'm sitting here with my son, Jonah. Hi, Jonah.
Hi, Mama Z.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right today. We had a cool little moment before we came here today, didn't we?
Oh, yes, we did. You want to share that?
Yeah. Our Uber, it wasn't that it wasn't working, just all the drivers were busy. And when we did get a driver, it took them a while to show up. But if not for that delay, if we weren't late, we wouldn't have seen one of the neighbor's cats. Just, usually these cats, there's 3 of them, are very skittish, right? You even look at them, they want to move away.
And they got an evil eye. I've seen them looking at you like, what? Why are you even talking to me? They're New Yorkers.
But one of them just waltzed right up to us, cutest little face, and started rubbing against our legs a bit and just generally checking us out. It was a very sweet moment. And if we weren't late, we wouldn't have seen it.
That is true. That's very interesting because it rubbed on yours. And so I wasn't jealous. I was just like, okay, the animals know who's good amongst us. But when it finally came towards me, I was very happy. And it's so interesting that happened because I felt like today's topic being, I am my brother's keeper. And I thought maybe the cat was saying, I'm also your brother.
I like that you mentioned, though you weren't jealous, as you say. I like that you mentioned that too, because that also is part of what this is about. The inverse of being your brother's keeper.
Yes. I wanted to just start with a little story. I never thought I was jealous. Okay, first of all, I never thought I was jealous. There's a little bit of like, oh man, I'm jealous of you for something your friend does. But I never really thought that I could be like really jealous. I'm talking about like, I'm jealous, that kind of. But out of reflection, I thought, and then I remembered a moment when I was younger, and then I was like, oh, that hurts remembering that moment because I've kind of wiped it out of my memory. So then I remembered that, everybody can be jealous. Everybody, from the time you are small, fighting over little toys, right? Or wanting to like grab all the laysat that nobody else, if you're not included, then you want to, kick the castle sand, the sand castle, because if I can't play, then nobody can. That kind of jealousy. But there's that sort of innocent. As a parent, you teach, right? You teach a child.
At least you're supposed to.
You teach a child, and say, yeah, right. You teach a child to share. Sharing is caring, right? Caring is sharing, something like that. And there was even a little song about things like that. But some people seem not to come out of that.
They never quite grow out of it. And that's, on the one hand, it's easy to look at that and say, oh, they've been bad from the start, But really, that's a very human thing to experience, to see something good and want to go mine.
Right.
And, I mean, really, it's an ancient experience. We've been writing about it since the earliest of days. Actually, that leads us into, I wanted to ask you for some clarification. I am my brother's keeper. I love it. But that's such a specific phrase. Where did that come from?
Well, it's an old story coming from the Bible. I think it's in the beginning of the Bible itself. Is it Exodus or something like that? Where the 2 brothers. One is Cain, one is Abel.
Oh, I know those two.
Right? One was a farmer, and I think another one a shepherd. So it's particular season, they come to give an offering to God as Thanksgiving, whatever season that is. I'm just going to assume it's harvest or after harvest. It's like you take your best crop or whatever, best produce of your crop to offer to God as Thanksgiving. So it so happened that Abel was able to give the best of the best. As the kids would say, bestest. The bestest of the bestest, right? And his brother Cain got very jealous Not only got jealous of the fact that he had the best crop and offered the best gift to God, but in some way he felt that it was too much for the brother to do that he had to remove him from earth. So he did that, and God comes back to him. He did that, and then he hid them or wherever he buried him somewhere. And then God comes to him as if he didn't know what he had done. He said, Cain, where is your brother? And his response is, am I my brother's keeper? Right? So we've taken that, a whole lot of people have taken that to turn it around from saying, why are you asking me? Am I supposed to know his, whereabouts? In a way of like shackling to God, like I don't even bother, right? It has been taken and turned it around to say, but I am my brother's keeper. I should know where you are. I should care about your needs. I should care about your safety. Right? So to turn the negative to the positive. So turn the jealousy, instead of being jealous, to root for you rather. To want you to be successful. So I'm rooting for your success. I want to give you a hand so that you can stand up as well if you are down, not to want to push you down instead. So because I'm my brother's keeper, when I see you down, I'm going to extend a hand. That is a signal to say, I'm your brother. I am my brother's keeper. So that's where that saying has come. And today it's about how do we take something that is we're all born with this good and bad. And this little thing that could be very small jealousy, but if you continue to stew into it, you can turn that into hate. And if you turn it into hate, now you want to push down your other person, whether it's a coworker or your sister, even cousins. Even in families, these things do happen, where small competition becomes so fierce that now you're actually rooting for someone else's failure rather than someone else's success. So if it happens in the families, and it happened in the Bible way back, and that was not the only story. Think about Joseph, when his brothers sold him. That was jealousy, right? That stemmed from jealousy. They just were jealous that he was mostly loved. He had these dreams. He had this coat of many colors, and they were like, let's unalive him, And one of the brothers said, no, let's sell him. And God had a plan for him, right? So that story became something. But you can look back and see in the history, this has been going on for years. It's millennia. And now today, it's still happening from the families to the friendship, to the neighborhoods, to the communities, and then it goes to the nations. And then now, we have situations where we can see some patterns in some nations where they come together as immigrants. I'm going to pick one, let's say Chinese. They come to America, one will come, and then the next come, and they will congregate in this very tiny house until everybody else work, cheap jobs, they put money together, one start a restaurant, they all work there, and then all of a sudden you have a whole block.
It can be a really beautiful thing.
It can be but how many people can do that? If you could look at the nations, for me, that's such a beautiful thing. That is being my brother's keeper, because that's not everybody within that community who's related. Sometimes they come from the region. It's not necessary that they're brothers or cousins, but we come from the same Xi'an.
Sometimes old neighbors or stuff like that.
Exactly. So that is being your brother's keeper in a bigger scale, right?
It's true.
So could we learn something from that? Do you have any experiences of your own little moments, whether you were positive or you took your low jealousy to a positive level, and instead of like, oof, I wish I could look like that, or I wish I can be fast like that, to, hey, I'm glad you're fast?
That second part is a little difficult always. But I certainly remember being envious of my friends. They're all really amazing people, every last one of them. And I've been stagnating for so long that when they do these really incredible things, it's hard not to see that and wish so badly that could have been me, or even that I had anything similar to offer. there was a certain point when things were at their worst where I'd see a post from any of the friends about how happy they were in college, how many friends they made, and I'd just grimace. You know, I couldn't pretend to be happy about it. And I used to think, oh, that's so messed up. I'm so evil for that, right? But really, that's just human to worry about feeling inadequate, to worry about, it's a human thing. And I think it's kind of, I think defeating that is, rising above it is something we're all sort of charged to do.
Yeah. So you're saying even when you're feeling the little ache of like, oof, I'm left behind, kind of, you know what I mean? But you still work hard to come out of that thought so that it's not so much painful. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What's a line that causes that little pain to become hate?
That's a difficult one. It's a very thin line. But it goes from envy to hate. When instead of being, oh, I wish I had that, that's envy. Hatred is, I wish I had that and you didn't. And even that too can be really human.
Right. But when people take it far, like Cain did.
Like Cain did, because he did something about it.
How do you stop yourself? Or how do you even realize? Can you realize? Do you realize that I'm starting to get to a point where it was jealousy, now it's like a little envy, and I'm starting to feel like, oh, I can't stand this person, right? How can you see yourself? How do you stop yourself? Because like you said, it's human nature to have these feelings.
I don't know if Cain realized what he was doing ever, or if he was just, so to speak, lost in the sauce that whole time. I don't know. I would imagine that striking down your own brother wouldn't be something you could do consciously without at least thinking twice. But at the same time, I wasn't there.
Right.
How could I have known? But I think it is very important to check yourself always, to examine your own actions every once in a while, to reflect often, really. Because if you don't ever self-reflect, if you don't ever think, hey, I might be wrong, if you go through life thinking, I'm always right, or even if you don't consciously believe that you're always right, if you go through life assuming that you're always correct, then stuff like that is going to happen. You've got to hold yourself accountable, always.
I want to say that there's always a comeback. You can go deeper sometimes, like you said, sometimes you can be driven by passion, and the passion can take us to the good part or the worse. And sometimes because of that passion, you could really go down the wrong way, and you have to learn how to stop yourself. And because some people's like, oh my God, now I'm going down this lane and I don't know how to turn around and come back. It's like,
for some people, it's like the sunken cost fallacy. I'm already this far. It would be stupid to turn back now. And of course, there's a reason it's a fallacy. It's because it's illogical. But as you've noticed, humans aren't very logical creatures by nature.
but you can't always turn back. You can turn around. I loved it when I was teaching at Mustard Seed. The kids, one of the kid who usually actually wasn't Mustard, was Chatham, and one of the kids, fourth grader, right? And she'd had a very rough day that day. It's like everything was just going wrong in whatever way. But towards the end of the day, the last class, which was reading and writing, and when we sit back to our closing meeting, she's commenting on how her day went. And she said it was really, really difficult day. But in the end, I turned around. I turned it around, and we just all clapped for her because she did. Even if it was last 3 minutes, she did turn it around. And she enjoyed that moment of being celebrated because it was a brave moment, right? It's like, oh, even if it was the last minute, we're almost, getting ready to close. But because she noticed that and she was able to acknowledge it for herself, okay, so that's a small scale. But if the kid, right, that is 9, 10, can feel that, surely us as grown up can learn something from that, because I know that that sometimes even friendship can go sour, right? Simply because they're always getting this and that, or maybe they got a boyfriend and I don't, and I always feel left out, or when you get older, maybe they got a car, I never had a car, or whatever it is, even within the sisters and brothers and cousins, and then comes to neighbors. And when you go to other cultures, right, like Africa where I come from, then you got issues of witchcraft, and that's a real thing. So this one is hard because it's not on the surface. For me, it's easy. If I know you're my enemy and I know you don't like me, that's okay. Keep it moving. I'm not going to bother you. Don't bother me, right? Matter of fact, it doesn't matter. You're not feeding me. But when you get to things like that, that envy becomes, like dangerous. I want to do something. I want to put you down. And then you use things like witchcraft because it's not on the open. You don't really know people are doing that, right? How do you know this? Spiritually, because you start to have bad dreams. You start all of these things. And of course, maybe you start to understand for those who are spiritual people. I'm not going to say believers because anybody who's a spiritual person can feel these things because we are energy as human beings. We're also surrounded by energy of all kinds of things, good and bad, right? And some things can manifest. And so you start to feel and experience these things and you're like, what is going on? But I'm saying that for things like that, what a shame that we spend so much time and energy using what would have been good to harm others in whatever way, to wish them down, right? Instead of taking that energy and support each other, lift each other up, and rooting for each other. Because if you're successful and you, my brother, I'm successful too, because I'm like right on your tail saying, that's my brother. Do you see that? That's my brother. Do you see? Because I know that if I'm down, you'll help me out. If I don't have food today, I will eat because you are successful, right? Instead of wanting to be the only one who's being praised and glorified and, everybody's putting you on a pedestal. And not only I'm excited because I'm also excited you come from my neighborhood or my country or whatever it is. So I'm so excited and I'm rooting for you. Hopefully you feel the same.
That reminds me of this thing I like to send to my friends all the time, right? There's this meme, and it's 2 images. Both images are of these 2 characters, Goku and Vegeta, eating together. They're eating all kinds of food. The plates are all stacked up. And the caption for these 2 different images, well, they're the same image, but these 2 separate images is, the first caption is, me and bro when I'm rich. And the second one is, me and bro when he's rich.
Oh, I love that.
And I love that it's the same image either way, because it means whichever one of us is successful, we both eat good.
Exactly. See, so that could be starting from family or friends or neighbors.
Or neighbors.
Or schoolmates. If our school have a few athletes that are super great, who's celebrating? It's the entire school. And then after that, the entire community is doing a parade. Isn't that being my brother's keeper? Or is that only happening when we're successful and we are celebrating, but when somebody's down? then you know how long are my brother's keeper?
Well, there you go.
How do we take that celebration?
How do you be consistent with it?
Celebration of from the athletes at high school being known for the best football team in the nation, or what they call it, like region, right? Or state football tournament, whatever it is, being the best, and then also within the school system, but also uplifting the wallflower as well. Because even as a wallflower, they belong to this community. So they too are celebrated as part of this high school. Because even though you're a wallflower,
They should be, at least.
Yeah, even though you're a wallflower, but you belong to this school. So therefore, everybody's celebrating your school.
So your question is, how do we do that?
How do we take that and translate?
How do we uplift both of them? And not just the apparently successful one?
Yeah.
There's this is a silly example, and you won't understand it at all, but they might. There's this series called Uma Musume, which is, what if Japanese racing horses were actually high schoolers or whatever, right? And
I can imagine that. That would be the best.
it's a little stupid, but it's also silly and cool. Most people's favorite is this character based off of a real horse named Goldship. Goldship is a top-tier racehorse. He almost never loses when he wants to. But the thing is, he doesn't always want to win. There's been times where he's lost people incredible amounts of money because he just sat down on the racetrack.
Oh my God,
refused to move.
that's really not wanting to. It's like, not today.
And so, of course, Goldship's character is a complete mess, and she's all over the place, and she does things just to make people mad, just like the real horse does. And anyway, there's this other character that people really took to called Haru. And she's got none of Goldship's skill. The real horse herself was also not very high performing at all. Almost never actually won a race in her whole life. But she still, throughout her entire career, loved to do it.
Oh,
And people really celebrated that character.
that's awesome.
That she almost never won, but every single time she would try. You know?
She was there.
I'm getting a little choked up talking about a horse right now. She was there, and she loved it. And that's a really beautiful thing. Even in the game that's based off of the real horse, if she does pull off a really rare win, she'll look almost confused because she wasn't expecting to.
That's amazing.
And it's this really beautiful, like, people loved it. People loved to see this character who screws up all the time, who isn't very good at really anything, but who still loves to do the things she does. And I say that to say, I think the love for that wallflower, I think that's there somewhere. I think people want to cheer someone like that on. We just haven't figured out how to make that so broadly acceptable yet.
Right. And maybe even the one that is cheered upon to be able to celebrate the wallflower as well, instead of looking down
Exactly.
on the wallflower so much that the wallflowers would disappear.
I think you're right. The person who's uplifted and elevated should also try to uplift
Yeah,
others.
because that's, you already up there. But don't go up there by yourself. Look down and see who's standing by the wall and say, hey. You've seen this on most competition for kids, whether they be running or doing karate or judo. Sometimes the one who wins and stop on top of the podium, I've seen a couple of times, they would lift the ones who are number 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Say, hey, let's all come up here. What a beautiful thing that kids are teaching us.
I liked this one story. I've completely forgotten their names. Forgive me, but these two Olympic competitors. I think it was it wasn't the hurdle. It was like pole vaulting, I think. Anyway, they kept tying. They came to a draw originally, so they both redid their jumps higher than the last, same level. So they both redid their jumps again, same level
Oh,
again.
wow.
And they kept tying and tying and tying. And at some point, the announcer, well, not the announcer, the officials were just like, all right, figure it out between you two. And one of them goes, can we both have gold? And person tells them there's no rule against it. And so without even discussing it further, they look at each other and say, history, my friend.
Oh,
And they both
that's
accept
so
gold.
Cool. That's so cool. And it should have been anyway.
They had no need to be above each other.
Because they've measured over and over, and it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is my brother's keeper.
Exactly.
Not wanting to be above the other.
It's not still having that drive to win and succeed, but not having it to be, I have to be above someone else.
I have to be. Don't mean that don't compete.
It doesn't mean don't compete.
But it means
have a competitive spirit.
Yeah, and still enjoy it and also uplift each other. It's okay.
Exactly.
It's okay to both of us to win.
I really love what you said, that you don't have to, you can succeed, but you don't have to succeed alone.
I love that.
It's a really beautiful sentiment.
I love that.
And I really got to get better at doing that with my own friends. Sometimes we like to pick on each other a little bit, but also it's important that I let them know, hey, whenever you're up, I'm up too.
Not to be sad when you lose. You obviously, Grandma Janice taught you when you were like 4 years old to 5 years old, playing together with her and Mike, Hayo Cherio. And if
that was where I learned to not be a sore loser.
Exactly, when you lose, and she'd say, "Well, sometimes we have to lose, and it's okay," because you'd be upset. But that's a child, right? That's a child. So we all have this competitive.
We've all still got that kid somewhere.
We have that competitive spirit. We have that I have to win. But you don't have to be sad or angry even when you lose or someone else next to you win. But that person who also wins don't need to be gloating to make the one who lose feel bad, because you're already feeling bad. You lost, right? But at some point to say, it's just a sport. It's okay. Come on, to say congratulations for participating. Because for the one to win, there has to be one who loses.
My buddy Nate and I play a lot of games where we duke it out together. Thing about Nate is, as much as he's easily distracted and just kind of locked out and whatever else, right? He's always going to be better at video games than I am. Every single time.
You hear that, Nate?
So every time we do, like, his aim is better, his hand-eye coordination is better. For example, there's this one game we play, Car Sumo, where we're both in cars and we're trying to knock each other off of ledges. And I'll just be trying to get to the next area we're supposed to go to, and he'll be doing tricks because he's that good. He's got time for it. And he almost always beats me, of course. But I still have so much fun with that. And I have just as much fun when I lose as I do when I win. Partly because it's a fun game. And being above anyone else has never been so high on my priorities. But also, I just love seeing him win, because the way he laughs when he pulls off something he shouldn't have been able to, and he just gets so happy, and it's really cool to see.
That reminds me of a saying, African saying, I'd say South African, I'm sure it's throughout Africa, that talks about the notion of Ubuntu, UBUNTU, which means humanity. And direct translation of that is, I am because you are.
Ooh.
That is...
Ooh, I love that.
I am my brother's keeper. I am because you are. So that means if I can see myself within you, or in you, there's no way I want you to fall. There's no way I want you to be harmed. There's no way I want you to hunger. There's no way I want you to suffer. There's no way I want to see you crying without giving you that hug or a tap on the shoulder, even if I didn't know who you are. Just to say, you're not my stranger. I am, because you are. I am my brother's keeper.
That's beautiful. That's really special, Mom. I love that a whole lot, obviously. And I think that's true. I think that's true of me and my friends especially. I am because they are. When they're happy, I'm happy, usually. When they're upset, so am I. But it extends further beyond that, because anybody can feel that way about the people they like.
Yeah. But can you feel that about a stranger?
Can I feel that about a stranger?
Or you just pass by and say, shrug your shoulders, or even don't look. Think about how many times we pass by the homeless people. Don't even look.
Don't even look. We've all, in a way, been trained to do that. We've all been raised to think that's how you're supposed to handle that. And so I'm guilty of that, absolutely. But before I was taught that, when I was a little kid, it didn't matter if I'd never heard your name in my entire life. If I looked over and I saw you crying for whatever reason, there came the tears for me.
I remember that.
The hurt was always so genuine and real. And I wouldn't even know what it was you were crying about.
But you were there to cry with you.
Exactly.
You were sitting with them at the bus stop. I think before we moved to New York, I always worried about, you and I both actually, in fact, we've always stopped to give not $1, but more, whatever we had.
$10,
yeah,
$20.
$10, $20, sometimes $50.
Sometimes $50.
Which is like, whoa, don't do that. They're going to go do, other things. Like, what?
Isn't that strange?
Why
That's
you-
always the assumption.
Yeah, why are you already judging someone who's already down?
Someone you don't know.
Yeah, they're already down. And maybe they could take that tonight. They might have a warm bed, right?
And even if they don't, what business is that is yours?
Yeah, you don't want to give, but you're going to tell me not to,
Exactly.
because there's a reason not to, because you know what they do with that? They go and smoke something. I know. And then,
It's like, even if that's true, who cares?
yeah, see how desensitized as human beings we've become? That humanity of being, I am because you are,
We
you've removed that
dehumanize people so quickly.
and gave them a tag of, if you do this, they'll do that. And basically, they deserve to be on the street.
Exactly. We stop looking at them as people.
But I was going to say, because in New York, there's so many of them.
There's a lot. It's one of the more, it was at least, one of the more expensive
Still
cities in the
is.
whole. I mean, it still is, yeah. But really, so many people just get overlooked there. It's a place where just one thing can happen. Maybe an unexpected hospital bill.
Yeah.
It's done for you.
And you're out on the street. So it's not like, first of all, it's a hard place. It's not like warm climate where like people will leave from
It's not
other
an easy
states.
place to be
Yeah, you don't
outside.
want to be outside in the cold. You don't want to, whether it's too hot or too cold, you don't want to be outside on the street in New York. Having said that, there can be some kind of crazy moments where you kind of want to walk across the street, or because you don't know what unpredictability that is there when they kind of want to, and then you're like, oh, But I feel like that gives us also a reason to walk away, to look away, to stay away. Even when it's not all of them who are going to be like on your face, because they do get on your face sometimes. There are some like that who's just like,
But even so, it's like the same thing I talked about last time. See how polite you are after all that. You know?
yeah, I guess you're right. That made me think a little bit, reflection of like, yeah, when you put it that way.
Exactly. It's
So you're saying give grace?
Always. Because, like, think about it. It's not to that level with this particular subject, but this sort of thinking is exactly how genocides happen. To dehumanize the other. Because you stop looking at them as a person like yourself. Even if you don't think they're not a person, you think, yeah, sure, they're a person, but they're not like me.
Right. It's the same thing that makes people, do things that are racist.
Same thing. That's where racism
Because
comes
you
from.
stop looking at that person as a person or as a human being. They stop being. If you are a human being just like you, that means you have the same blood.
Exactly.
You have the same needs, right?
And there's something, especially for someone who's been on the dominant half of that, that frightens that person. Because now if they have to acknowledge that this is a fellow human just like they are, now they have to acknowledge everything they've been thinking, everything they've been doing has been wrong. That's always one of the hardest things for anyone to admit.
Do we extend the same thinking to the poor as well?
How do you mean?
The wealthy looking at the poor as non-human?
Oh, absolutely. Sociology is one of my favorite subjects. I love people. And in a sociology class in Chatham, New Jersey, affluent New Jersey suburb, very white, our teacher wrote out, loved that teacher, by the way. Our teacher wrote out upper class, middle class, lower class on the board, then turned around. Pick some words to associate with these three things. Guess where all the words like substance abuse and domestic violence got
On
put.
the lower.
But think about how common those things are in the upper class.
Oh.
Think about the Hollywood stars.
Yes.
The addiction, the violence.
All the recovery places they go to,
Exactly.
which are like...
all the trashed hotel rooms.
Oh, yeah.
All the
'Cause they can afford
really
it.
messy public breakups, all of that. But we don't look down on them in the same way.
In fact, you feel sorry.
And this wasn't these kids they were very sheltered, all of them. But these kids weren't sitting here like, oh, poor people are bad. They were doing it from a place of pity and empathy. But at the same time, they only assigned those negative traits to the lower class.
To the lower class.
Didn't even think about the upper class.
Is that like they the most substance abusers because they can afford it?
Exactly.
Wow. That's interesting, as Dad would say,
same
go
thing.
figure.
The same negative trait, in fact, worse among the upper class. But we only pointed it out about the lower class. And I say those kids were sheltered. I didn't think of it either. I disagreed, but I was sitting there. I couldn't think of a rebuttal. That
Right.
came from the teacher.
Wow, that is very, very interesting, but also very true. I was thinking as you're talking about how the food stamps. Everybody thinks that it's in
Something to look down.
It's the black people are the ones who are using the food stamps. But when the stats is coming out, the stats show that it's mostly white poor people.
Predominantly lower class white people.
But the association of saying also the skin color,
If it's negative, it
Yeah.
starts with the other.
as the skin color, then skin color associated that with the poverty and lower class. And then it's like, because then if you are that's brown skin and you belong to the upper class, there's questions about that too. Like, how if you're not an athlete and you're not a mostly it's like you're a football player, you're a basketball player, you're a
You're an
musician.
actor.
Yeah, something. If you're none of that, how did you even make it there? Right? Why is it that there must be a question? Why there's not such questions if it's the other races? For example, Asian people assumed to be on tech, right? IT this and IT that. But even our friend who's Asian will say, what a stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Immediately looking at him and think, oh, then you're in IT. What if he wasn't? But even that becomes a stigma. So it's like, for me, so what if it's a beautiful thing if the people end up being doctors and engineers? And why would you use that as an attack?
It's
Dehumanize someone
exactly
and then use something good, a strength as a weakness.
a strength is a weakness. It's strange how obsessed we are with putting people in little boxes, with categorizing everything. I feel the same way sometimes about gender.
Yeah.
You know by now that I go by any pronouns at all. He, him, her, it.
Them.
I don't care. Whatever feels natural to you, just do it. I'm fine with it. I consider myself to be beyond just those two roles.
You're a human being.
I'm a male biologically. I get this. But man and woman, all that really means is assigned to a set of social roles and positions and fashions and whatever. And I consider myself beyond that. I'm a human being.
Yes. Like being a citizen of the world.
Exactly. I was born on the planet Earth. That don't change whether or not I wear a skirt. You know? But I found there's people who really struggle with that idea. They think, well, you've got to be one thing or the other.
Who decided?
Who decided that? Or even, well, if you're non-binary, then why not change your name? That's a masculine name you use. Who decided that? It's just a word. It's a sound we make up. And really, a lot of things are like that. Things we cling to just because they make sense to us, not because they actually make sense.
Because it's always done like that.
Exactly. You're obsessed with coloring things in blue because you've always used blue, not because blue is the only color you can use.
Crazy. Even colors are assigned.
Yeah. Even colors, that's the weird thing. Blue if you're a boy, pink if you're a girl. Huh? What are you talking about?
I know. We're very good in assigning and holding on to. In fact, not only we hold on to things, we want to grab that, but also grab you into that box.
Exactly.
And now if you wiggle out, you're like, wait, I don't want to be in this box. You're like, how dare you? Let me hammer you down. You need to stay in here. It's like,
It's
who made you God?
Exactly. It's because these boxes we've built for ourselves, they're so fragile, right? They're built on practically nothing. They're all arbitrary to the point that anything that challenges them becomes scary to the people within them. Because just like with racists who feel if they have to acknowledge someone they hate as someone who's human, then suddenly everything they've done is wrong, right? This just the same way. The people inside that little flimsy box think, well, if someone can be outside of the box, then what have I been doing this whole time?
Oh, so that in order to justify...
It puts them in question, they feel.
Justify your whatever it is, you have to make sure that you hold on and grab, not only grab yours, but grab everybody else so nobody questions it.
It's the opposite of if you can't beat them, join them. If they won't join you, beat them.
Beat them down. Oh, man. Oh, dear. That is something else. That is something else. How do we, as we are sitting in our kitchen table, right? How do we, ourselves first, help our mindsets, think positive, even when it feels like negative is the better way, in a way that I'm going to feel like. Sometimes, I can just give an example where I'm going with this is, if I had, let's say there's a bully in the playground, right?
Sure.
He comes and does something, scatter you guys, whatever you're playing, and then as he's storming up, very proud, he's done this chaos, and he trips and falls on his face. Everybody's watching, right? How do I stop myself from jumping up and down and celebrating as he falls on his face, right? Right? Because he just did this awful thing. Right here, we're all mad and hurt. And when to see that person who just did that fall on their face right in front of us where we can like celebrate. How do I stop myself as a better human being who's evolved, or at least trying to be evolved, instead of looking at him, if I can, throw sand on him, but rather give him a hand, extend a hand to say, come on. Maybe he's not going to take it. He might just hit it, but at least I did it. How do I help myself to do that to that person who's wanting to harm me or others?
As for the wanting to celebrate, it's certainly a natural thing to see someone who's been harassing you fail spectacularly and want to laugh. Because the irony of it, right?
The irony of the stage door.
The audacity. And I get that. But at the same time, nobody's asking you to forgive your bully necessarily. Nobody's asking you to suddenly like the bully. But you've got to acknowledge the bully as a person, same way you are.
Even though they don't acknowledge you as a person.
Exactly.
Not alone a brother, but as a human being.
You got to acknowledge them as a person and at least give them the chance to acknowledge you as the same. And if they don't take it, if they swat away your hand and just go right back to bullying you, that's on them. But it would be on you if you hadn't offered.
You mean I'll feel bad afterwards?
Maybe you won't feel bad about it afterwards. But giving them that chance is part of your responsibility. If they don't take that chance, then that's out of your hands.
This sounds like give another cheek.
Turn the other cheek. Force them in a way to acknowledge you as a person by refusing not to acknowledge them.
Ooh, I like that better. Basically, I'm going to ignore you. You mean that?
No.
Yeah. Because for me, it works. If you are...
You can do that.
If you are out to harm me, or you insist on you insist on allowing your jealousy to just... It's okay not to like me, but you don't have to hate.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just going to ignore you.
That's valid.
You don't exist. I don't have to like you.
There you go.
But if I were to see you being on harm's way, regardless of how you feel about me or how I feel about you because of how you feel about me, right? I would still throw you a life vest if you're being swiped by the flash floods. I will still throw, if I have, a life vest. I wouldn't say bye-bye, because then, of course, I won't be able to sleep thinking about that, because I do have conscience. Exactly. And I know people who don't. They've gone so cold, and those are the ones that really need prayer. And I don't know if that changes anything, but I trust that if all of us slowly just go, as we are told in the Bible, that pray for those who persecute you, or just pray for your enemies, which I always find very hard. I actually find that my prayers are not genuine when I'm praying for my enemies, because I really want to go to Psalms of David when he says, God, strike them with lightning. And, but I get it. It's not what we have to do. We have to pray for our enemies and those who we don't like. and those who don't even like us for no whatever reason. So in that, I'm trying to help myself here and at least say a small prayer without going further, because I find it very hard to be genuine.
A person can be a jerk for no reason. They can truly, genuinely be awful to them or to you. And you don't have to love them for that.
Thank God. Love thy neighbor?
But the thing about evil, right, is it's all it ever comes down to. The one thing all those who could be considered truly evil have in common is they lack empathy and are given power.
Oof, that's the worst.
And that's why it's so dangerous to lose that empathy. Empathy doesn't mean, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows and flowers and daisies.
Perfume.
So I forgive you for beating me, right? I forgive you for punching me in the jaw and stealing all my money. No, you don't got to be like that. But you got to think, man, that really sucked. Man, I really didn't like getting punched in the face and having my stuff taken. I'm never going to wish that for anyone else.
That's a key right there. Even in your pain, you still don't wish that, including the very person who punched you. You still don't wish that harm to them.
Exactly.
That's very, very beautiful.
Being your brother's keeper is about changing a mindset from, I suffered, so why shouldn't they? To, man, I hate suffering. I hope no one else has to do this.
I think that's something you used to say when you were small. You can't hurt me. Oh, your dad apparently said that too to somebody.
Yeah.
One of his aunts, an uncle, was hitting him when he was maybe around 10. Like, you can't hurt me. So that is taking away power from the person who's hurting you.
You remember how when Dad was a kid, he was really scrawny, and the other kids used to pick on him. You remember how he got them to stop? Do you remember his story?
I forgot.
He said once he knew he couldn't beat them in a fight. He tried punching back. It didn't work. But he made him laugh. He started telling stupid jokes. Whenever they'd come beat him, he'd be like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it wasn't necessarily out of defiance. It wasn't screw you. But he'd just be goofy. He'd be silly. He'd tell jokes about it, about them and about himself. And eventually, they stopped hitting him. Because though what he was doing was just telling jokes, being funny, and telling quips to hide how nervous he was, what he was doing is he was taking away the power that they had to hurt him by just laughing it off, by using it to fuel jokes and quips and one-liners. And not only did he take away their power to hurt him in doing so, he also made them laugh, which forced them to acknowledge this is just a dude like me.
Yeah.
A dude I like even.
That is so beautiful. Even though that's what you're saying, to take the power away from the fear, them inflicting fear instead of making it, so much that it puts you in a little box. You want to go hide. You don't want to go to school and all of these things. Not to say that, don't be afraid when somebody's harmful towards you. But he found a way of disarming them using his humanity.
Exactly.
So much that they were able to see him as a human rather. Or they saw themselves in him. Yeah.
He, at the same time, made it unfun for them to beat up on him.
I love that.
And made them realize he's a human too.
Yeah. Just a kid.
Just a kid.
Just a kid. How do we share a way of all of us encourage each other to see each other to see us in each other and to become that brother's keeper. Anybody who's listening to us is thinking, rolling eyes, but truly that could change if it starts with me and I extend this, you're my brother and I'm your keeper. I see myself in you and you see yourself in me. And that trickles down to friends, neighbors, communities.
Now, there's some people who just, at least not without really intensive rehabilitation, which not everyone's even willing to offer them that chance. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some people who will just never acknowledge anyone else as human. Mm. And that's not really okay, I wouldn't say. But that's also not something to lash out at. Mm. Rather, it's important to, like Dad did with his bullies, take away the power from it. Mm. It's like Jesus going the extra mile. It was a quiet way of resistance.
Yeah.
To do an extra mile, which wasn't required of him of his own volition. Not only is he putting the soldiers at risk of getting in trouble, because they were only allowed to do the 1 mile, but he's also forcing them to acknowledge him as a person, not a tool. Mm-hmm. So finding little means of resisting against people like that is important. But for those who can be convinced, there's a whole other thing there. A beautiful thing. Maybe not everyone's going to acknowledge you as their brother or sister or sibling or whatever else, right? Not everyone wants to be your keeper. Not everyone wants to care about you. But that should not ever prevent you from caring about them.
It takes one.
It takes one. If the world turns its back on you, don't turn your back on the world. That's how people go hollow. Even to extend a compliment now and again, or a little joke on the way to work if you see someone who has a similar commute a bunch, or just genuinely say there's a receptionist at your workplace. Just genuinely asking your receptionist, hey, how are you doing today? Stopping and reaching out in those tiniest ways, that's already enough to get you started.
That is.
A person who's receptive will reach out back. Maybe even start reaching out to others.
Yeah.
A person who isn't, all right, they'll figure it out eventually maybe. But that part's on them. Don't need to worry about it.
So you don't want to change the entire world, or you start with one.
You start with one person.
With one act.
You don't worry about changing the whole world. You worry about helping out one person. Maybe they'll help another. And so on and so forth.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
I love that, by the way. To close, share one story about Dad again. We are traveling to upstate New York, Hudson, to our house, and we stop in this beautiful diner. As we know, New York, New Jersey with diners is a thing to do.
I really miss them.
I miss that too. And we stop at this diner, and outside of this diner is a bus stop coming from New York City. And there are 2 young people, your age, coming off the bus. They're going to go to the diner to eat, and they look tired. They look like they hadn't slept. They've probably been partying. I have no idea, but they're just so tired. And carrying on their backpacks, giant backpacks. They seem like they would have gone hiking or something, whatever. But we go in, we find our seat, maybe 3 booths from where we were, that's where they were sitting, all piled of their, giant backpacks, just piled up on the path, so much that I had to kind of skip over because they just didn't care. They just dumped it. So I skip over, and we go sit down, and we sit for a minute, and all of a sudden, Dad calls the waiter, and he says, "You see those 2 young people over there?" She says, "Yes." And he said, "I'm paying for their bill. Don't tell them." And so she smiled. She says, "Wow, thank you, sir." And he pays for their bill. He said, "Don't mention them, right? Don't mention it." So I look at him and I said, "Why?" And he said, "They look so burdened. I just wanted to uplift them a little bit." And that was it. He didn't talk about it after that. I sat there with my mouth down. Not because I was shocked that he was giving a gift, but the idea that he saw their burden.
Didn't know anything about them. He just knew they looked tired.
Exactly. And he became their brother.
Exactly.
He handed a hand.
He became their keeper.
Right. They didn't know that their bill was paid.
At least not till they were done eating. At which point you two had already left.
Exactly. What a beautiful thing that there was no turn back and say, look how they reacted. He didn't care.
Didn't matter a lick to him.
It wasn't about him being thanked. It was about him being a brother at the moment of need, even though they didn't say they needed.
That's the part I love most. He wasn't always the sweetest necessarily, but I'll put it this way, a way I really love. He wasn't always nice. He was always kind.
Always kind.
Niceness and kindness are 2 very different things, and I actually strongly prefer kindness to niceness.
Because nice can be professional.
Exactly.
Can be polite.
It can even be negatively polite. It can be, I'll refuse to tell you the things you need to hear because I don't want to be rude.
Right, exactly. Thankful to Rogers. What was the show, Rogers?
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We're thankful to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. For those who watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the very first guy, white dude on television at the time, who sat with his neighbor who was African American and put his feet on the same lower pool to wash feet together. And thing that was frowned upon because you wouldn't mix black and white, but he did that because he lived in that neighborhood that was all about kindness. So in closing,
I'm living proof that it worked.
It worked, and here you are between your mom and dad. Thank you, God. You have something to read before we pray?
Let's do a little closing scripture. I really got to get more organized with my notes. I always got to go digging. I remember it now, Psalms 20. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. That is to say, may he grant you your heart's desire. Fulfill all your plans. I'm rooting for you.
I'm rooting for you. And I'm rooting for you.
And I'm rooting for you.
Let's pray.
Let's pray.
Father God, we're here rooting for you as you root for us. And we're rooting for every brother, every sister, every grandma, aunt, uncle, friend, anybody who is down or who is trying as hard as they can. We are rooting for you to be successful. We want to see you uplifted. We want to see you joyful. We want to see you full of peace. We want to see you just walking and breathing and enjoy your life, even when burdens and trials come. But the triumph that comes from all of us standing behind you, clapping for you to take another step, to lift your head up and breathe and feel the sun on your skin. We're here for you. We're rooting for you. And we thank you, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I think in all of this, our dear friend Ryan said something really interesting that I wrote down, wanted to say. Maybe the world changes the moment we stop asking, am I my brother's keeper? And start saying, I'm rooting for you.
I'm rooting for you.
I'm rooting for you.
I am.
Or as the youngsters would say, do care, did ask, plus I love you.
I do care. And I did ask. Plus, I love you. We love you.
We love you. Stay safe. Thanks for joining us at the kitchen table.
See you again.